Hey, hello, and welcome to our OSU Ryle live streaming Thursday telecast. I'm Patrick Dangle, Executive Producer of Telecast Programming at the Ohio State University South Centers. We at the South Centers collaborate with the University of Rio Grande and Rio Grande Community College to promote small businesses, educational programs, student, faculty, agriculture, horticulture, aquaculture, soil, bioengineering, and many other programs. And this is in lieu of many of our broadcasts also deal with business organizations. Our mission is to provide educational programming regarding growing our communities in Southern Ohio, in the state of Ohio, and its surrounding states, and likewise on a global basis. Over 100,000 viewers and listeners have tuned into our different telecasts, which encompasses over 178 countries. This week's theme deals with international cultures at both the Ohio State University South Centers and the Rio Grande University. In our upcoming pre-recorded show, which was published on December 8th, 2016, we deal with a special guest from India, Vinayak Shedekar, who discusses different India cultures, museums, customs, and cuisine. He works at the Soil, Water, and Bioengineering program at the Ohio State University South Centers here in Piketon, Ohio. Here is Vinayak. Hey, welcome back to our Ohio State University South Centers live streaming program that we provide every Thursday, starting around 9 o'clock and then ending anywhere from 10 or 12 o'clock with a variety of different educational programs. We collaborate with the University of Rio Grande Community College in providing a number of different educational programs that benefit individuals that live in Southern Ohio, that live in the state of Ohio, that live in surrounding states, and basically on a global basis. We have had, through our educational programs with the University of Rio Grande and Ohio State University, over 100,000 different viewers and listeners to many of the different programs that we have had, and that constitutes about 178 countries that have likewise tuned in. Our mission is simple: to provide programming regarding growing our communities in Southern Ohio, state of Ohio, throughout the world in various different aspects that include agriculture, horticulture, soil and water conservation, small businesses, business organizations, and those things or those programs that help you, the listener and the viewer, to perhaps maybe we can shed some light on things that you're interested in wanting to know. Behind the scenes, we have Dwayne Rigsby. Dwayne Rigsby is our technology specialist with the Ohio State University South Centers. He's the magic behind our program. We also have Mike Thompson. Mike Thompson is the Director of the Instructional Design and Media Services at the University of Rio Grande. He's the magician there, in which we collaborate different educational programs that we show on our Ohio State University South Centers channel and our program with the University of Rio Grande Community College. We also have Kimberly Rausch. Kimberly is a program moderator with the Ohio State University South Centers. We have in our programs different themes, and usually the first week of each month we deal with culture, what it's like to live in another country, what it's like for those countries that bring their culture to the United States. Our world is getting smaller and smaller, and it's really good to be able to work hand in hand with many different individuals from different parts of the country. Today we have Vinayak Shedekar. Vinayak is a research associate with the Soil and Water Bioengineering program here at the Ohio State University South Centers, but he also is a native of India, Just recently, he is graduating with a PhD in agricultural engineering, and we're going to be talking about his country, India, what it's like to live in India, and how many things that we do in the United States are very similar to many things that are done in India, as well as there are cultural differences, and we hope to better understand so we can work together. So at this time, I want to welcome Vinayak to our program. Vinayak, it's great having you here.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. As a matter of fact, Vinayak, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into India, and
Sure.
you brought some pictures and things.
So, as you mentioned, I'm a research associate here at OSU South Centers. I came to US about 9 years ago. I got my master's and undergraduate education in agricultural engineering back in India. And then I came here for my PhD program in agricultural engineering as well. I come from a small town back in India. Hopefully I have illustrations I can show you where I am from, but but I do have some background in agriculture, and that was part of the reason I ended up being in agriculture.
Did you live on a farm?
We did not live on a farm. We always lived in a small town, but my family has farm where we used to go in summer vacations and other vacations.
Very good, very good. Yeah. You know, that's one of the things that I'm really not familiar. Whenever I see pictures of India, it's usually through movies.
Right.
And you see groups of individuals just in various different cities, etc. So when you talk about small, how small?
So we're talking about, well, population-wise, it could be in the range of probably about 100,000 people in a small town. So it's definitely a little bit different. But then the villages, typically you can see only a few households all the way up to about 4,000 or 5,000 people. That's a typical village in India. And then the mega cities are the ones that have millions of people in there. So
and the United States has a few of those too.
That's yes.
But it's my understanding in China, they have over 100 countries with over 1 million people. And that just boggles my mind.
Yes, that's very much similar situation in India as well.
Really?
With the growing population. We have more than 1 billion people living in India. The interesting part is, talking about agriculture again, is about 50% of Indian population actually depends on agriculture still. When we got the independence in 1947, around that time, about more than 70% of the population was dependent on agriculture as the primary source of living and economics. But then with the growth of other sectors, the share of agriculture as a sector in the GDP has gone down, but still there is a huge population that's living in the villages and is dependent on agriculture. We have our talk that is focused on culture, and a lot of times I tell this to my friends that, you know, agriculture is one of the cultures in India. So in addition to the religions.
That is very true. Maybe we can get Dwayne to post a picture of India. A map? So
I just brought a map just to, you know, give people some idea about how the country looks like. It's a fairly large country. You can see this is a map that shows the elevation as well, and we have a completely pretty much all kinds of climate that you can find in the world within our country. In the northern parts, you see the Himalayas, and as you go further south, it gets more flat, and then you go into coastal regions. So we have arid climate with deserts, we have humid climate on the eastern sides and the coastal areas, and then we also have some cold climate up in north. And then I brought a slide, I think that's probably the next one, just to show you how it compares with the US. And you can see the population, I just mentioned it's about 1.2 billion, but area-wise you can see it's about half the size of United States,
Wow.
about 1.27 million square miles compared to 3.8 million square miles. But then ag-related population in India is about 275 million compared to 2.5 million in USA.
Wow.
And then we get about 40 inches of rain every year, which is very much similar to Ohio and Midwest. But you can look at also the agricultural land.
Yeah.
About 400 million acres of land in India and about the same acreage in US.
Huh.
So we farm almost the same amount of land. The only difference you can call is see is more diversity and lesser productivity in India compared to USA.
Dwayne, can you go back to the first picture a minute? Where were you born and raised?
Oh, that would be my third slide in the maps.
Oh, okay.
I highlighted the
very
state of.
good.
So this is the state of Maharashtra. So this is a state map. There is about 29 states in the whole country, and this is the state where I belong to, and probably about the west coast, somewhere in the middle,
Oh, okay.
is the city of Mumbai, and I'm from a city very close to Mumbai.
Now, when you talk about states, is that comparable to the states of the United States?
Yes, that would be comparable to the states in United States, and then the counties that we have in the states, we call them districts.
Districts.
So each state is divided into several districts.
That's interesting.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that you have a governor, or what? Who runs the state?
So the political, I mean, the governance is very much similar to the U.S. We do have governor who is the head of the state, and the president who is again the first citizen of the country. But for the active part of the governance, we have the chief minister who acts, who does the duties of the governor equivalent in
see.
U.S. And then prime minister who is the active head of the government on the national level.
Oh, okay.
So that's how it works.
Do you have elections like we have in the United States?
Yes, we have every 5 years we have
5
elections.
years.
Yes, and very much similar. We have our political system is a multi-party system as compared to the two-party system in the U.S. So anybody can form a party. Or
You have my curiosity. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you have seen the tremendous amount of media and different kinds of things during the Republican, Democrat. Do you have, since you have a multi-party, do you have what we went through, where there was just so much negativity and anger, or is it more what we can do for the individuals?
yes, I usually don't comment on political aspects, but yes, politics. When you go to any country, it's almost a similar situation where there is political leaders, political parties, and then the general public has a certain part of the general public has positive opinion about the parties, and other part would have negative opinion. So it's very much similar regardless of the country. That's my opinion. I'm not very much involved. I have only voted once since I got eligible for voting, because I have always been away from home.
Sure.
So
I understand.
Yes.
And oftentimes we get embroiled in things, but really when it comes down to it, when you take away the politics and you take away the different things that make the United States or India what it is, people are just people.
Yes, and that's why I think in the beginning, when you talk about India, the first impression you get are everybody knows India because of its spirituality and festivals and some of the other, the world heritage sites we
Yes.
have, the ancient structures we have.
Yes.
So there is a lot of beauty just within the country that you can see, and then there is this whole arena of the
No,
politics.
we're
and
good. We're good.
so-
And speaking of spirituality, the main focus of religions in the United States tend to be the Christian faith, the Muslim faith. And I'm sure there's some of the Eastern faiths, etc. What is the primary faiths
So-
of India?
So India is a secular country, first of all. If you look at the demographics, about 75 to 80% of the population is Hindu,
Oh, okay.
and then about maybe 15% or so is Muslim.
Okay.
We have about 2 to 3% Christian religion, and then we also have probably about 5 or 6 different religions, including Jainism and Buddhism,
Okay.
and some other religions. And then within each religion, there are some subcategories as well. But that's the major demographics that you can.
It's been my experience that many times countries that have strong faiths also allow festivals of certain
Yes.
kinds that promote the country or the
Definitely,
culture or the religion. Let's talk a little bit about festivals.
I did bring just a couple of pictures to show you just the 2 festivals that are, equivalent to a Christmas in US. We have our festival of light, and this is called a festival of Diwali. Diwali, the word means a line of lights or lamps. So these are 2 little girls putting up lamps in front of their yard, and this festival is usually in the month of October or November, and a lot of sweets, a lot of food, a lot of firecrackers, and the whole family comes together. And
very
we
good.
have another festival that is more of a social festival, you can say, and this
Very
is
good.
called a festival of colors. And it's called Holi in our language, and it's all over the nation. People go out onto the streets, come together and throw some colors on each other, and again there is food involved. Any festival you look at, there is always some nice food involved in India, and there is a religious aspect, but at the same time something that relates to the
Sure.
climate as well.
Sure.
So this is one of the really big festivals that's celebrated across the country.
So India is considered on the northern part of the hemisphere.
It is, yes, it is.
So when America celebrates fall and winter, you have pretty much the same seasons.
We have we divide the whole year into 4 seasons. We have the rainfall that comes in a specific time period, about 3 to 4 months. That is our monsoon rainfall. So that's a rainy season. We have winter. So we have rainy season, then the post-monsoon season, then comes the winter, and then we have a summer. So about
that-
3 months per season.
That's interesting.
Yes.
And I obviously, I'm going to assume that almost every country follows the calendar that has been established.
So our festivals and most of the weddings, they are focused. They usually consider the lunar calendar compared to the English calendar.
Oh,
So
okay.
most of our festivals and weddings, they are aligned with the lunar calendar. There is a good time, like that you should select for all
Oh,
these.
okay. So let's suppose that I've been happily married for 43 years, but let's just suppose 43 years ago I met my wife in India, and we decided to have a wedding.
Oh.
So would there be a specific time that it would be recommended?
Yes, yeah, and I brought some colorful pictures. I thought
okay.
it might be
All right,
really
sure.
relevant for
Yeah.
this discussion. So I just wanted to show how the Indian weddings are, and this is only from my state. You go every state, every few hundred miles, you will see a completely different picture of a wedding. So this is from my state. These are actually 2 of my friends who recently got married, so I thought I'll showcase them
okay.
as well. So.
All right.
This is the bride and groom, and what happens is these weddings. There is a long time ago. It used to be a 10-day or a 1-week matter that you will have different rituals. Now they squeeze pretty much everything in 1 or 2 days. So you can keep going to the next slides, and these are just. This is one of the rituals where they have the garlands in their hands, and the bride and groom are not supposed to see each other until a certain moment comes, and then they can see each other and put the garland in, something like a ring exchange ceremony.
Oh, okay.
Again, this a fire is a very important part of our weddings. It represents purity, and so we always worship the fire. And this is one of the rituals where the brother is involved. So the guy in the white is the brother, and he is doing a ritual, kind of handing over his sister to the groom.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of the rituals. And then there is this is the moment when they get married officially in a way, and then you put the garlands on, and this is the other side, how the other side looks.
Wow.
Unlike the weddings in the US, we have a crowd anywhere from a few thousand people who attend. This is from my wedding, actually. This is the people who attended my wedding. About close to 2,000 people attended my wedding at the same time, so it's pretty
I'll
big.
be quite frank with you. I could not pick out.
And there is always a party after. This is one of my some of my brother-in-laws and my brother dancing after the wedding, and then you can go to the. So this is one of the religious rituals that represents the meaning of the marriage. So the 7 dots you see, those are 7 nuts. One is already gone, but 7 nuts. So these 7 things represent 7 lives. So Hinduism believes in 7 lives. So for 7 lives you are tied together, and the next one will show you that they are tied together with a knot. So this is the tattoo on the hands is called Henna Tattoo. It's a very nice form of art in India, and you can see all the all the aspects of the Indian wedding, but at the same time the philosophy behind it. So
just out of curiosity, is that who tattooed their hands?
So we have some artists who usually are invited to the party, to the wedding venue a couple days before, and then the bride and some of her friends, they would get these tattoos on their hands. It's probably about a 4 or 5 hour task for them to get it done,
washed off.
and then it goes away after a month or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So did you have tattoos on your hands?
The grooms usually don't have that much of. It's a form of a what do you call it?
Feminine.
It's a feminine thing, and then so that's how women are the one who usually have more makeup and.
I see.
All the tattoos and all that.
In America, we have gotten away from the father deciding who the daughter will marry, etc. Is it pretty much open? If someone goes to India, can they fall in love with some, or is there a ritual behind that?
You're married, so you cannot. But
I think my wife would also agree with you on that.
Well, yeah, it's this was the cultural side I was showing, but the today's India is very modern. A lot of people like me who are educated, a majority of population is educated now, so the youngsters now, they have the freedom to choose who they want to get married. A lot of people do meet their spouses at the workplaces and some other social settings, but at the same time the family is an important part of our lives. So most of the weddings marriages do happen with the permission or acknowledgement by the family.
Yeah, families are so important that you don't just marry into your spouse, you marry into their family.
Yes, definitely. It's a marriage of families.
Yes.
That's how
Yes.
we interpret it back in there. So, but it's very independent culture now. If you look at the modern day Indian
I
working.
think that's good. By the way, as we're talking about weddings, I saw some different culture. Did you bring some slides on heritage kind of things?
Yes, yeah, we whenever people think about India and tourism, they do think about the monuments and a lot of structures that we have. So this on screen you're seeing the flag of India.
Huh.
It has three colors.
And what is the wheel?
And the wheel in the middle is called Ashok Chakra, and Chakra means wheel.
Yes.
And this wheel has it represents 24 hours. And it's the blue color actually is a symbol of peace.
See, in some spirituality, the chakras
Sure.
are those things that align our physical to our spiritual.
Right.
And so, would that chakra also represent any of the internal chakras that individuals have?
In a way it does, but on the national level, when you look at the flag,
Okay.
the interpretation is not that way.
Oh, okay.
And we're looking at probably the most famous structure in the world
Taj Mahal.
that comes to your mind whenever you talk about India, and that is Taj Mahal. Yes, that's
Yes.
right. So Taj Mahal, it's in the city of Agra. Pretty much everybody knows about how beautiful it is, and I had the privilege to actually visit this site, and it's just an amazing view as soon as you enter the premise. And this is the Red Fort in the city of Delhi. That is our capital city, and the Red Fort it's part of the structure category where we had forts long time ago when we had probably around 400-500 years ago, when we had the whole country was divided into small kingdoms, and each kingdom would have forts to protect themselves from the rest of the world. So temples is also a huge part of Indian culture. This is one of the famous temples from Khajuraho. And I show some close-ups as well. This is another.
I'm assuming they're Hindu.
These
temples.
are Hindu temples.
Okay.
This is a temple of Akshardham in Delhi. This is a very recent temple, but architectural marvel, you can say. Very nice architecture and very intricate
Yes.
architecture. But these are this is one of the new temples, but we have temples that are probably about 1,000 years old.
Wow.
And still in a great shape. This just shows some of the architecture from close and some of the artwork. This is all stone, carved in stone. So these are some of the temples that we have.
Those are amazing.
Yeah, these are really amazing structures. You go to any place, any state, you would find a really ancient or at least old structure within last few hundred years, within a matter of maybe 200-300 kilometers. So
What I'd like to do is I'd like to invite you back. Our time is
Sure.
running short. But one of the things that I've always felt very important is that we also talk about our religious heritage.
Yeah.
And many people in the United States, they have their beliefs in Christianity and Muslim and other, Hindu. But I think it's very important also to look at, some of the aspects. So I wish to have you come back.
Definitely.
Wish to have you come back and talk about the agriculture and the arts and the dance. And
Sure.
I'm sorry our time is just about up. Do you want to leave the listening audience with a word of wisdom or two?
Oh,
Or
well,
10.
I can. All I would like to say to the audience is namaste, and that's a very
Peace be unto you.
yes, peace be into you. And then namaste. The meaning of namaste is actually I pray to you. Eventually, the ultimate meaning of Hinduism and some of the religions is that I see God in you, whoever is in front of in front of me. So that's how we treat other people, and then that has become a very global symbol
Yes.
of
Yes.
greeting
Namaste.
now.
Yes.
And
Very much
that's
so.
I think that's the message I would leave with.
Okay, all right. We're talking with Vinayak Shedekar. He's a senior researcher and associate professor uh, in soil, water, and bioengineering program. He's also now a PhD in agricultural engineering, and we certainly welcome him and hope that he has a long future with Ohio State University South Centers. Vinayak, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.